Hello and welcome to Arnold Reacts, where in today's video we are going to be reviewing and reacting to the first episode of the new Obi-Wan series. Now do note, because Disney is so strict, we are not really allowed to show much of the imagery, so you're going to be having to look at this little promotional picture in my face as I give you all my feedback. Now let's go ahead and get into the video. Now, needless to say, spoiler alert, as I'm going to be discussing everything or most of the things that are happening in this episode and providing you with my feedback and thoughts. Now, what I like is at the beginning, you're going to get kind of an overview of what happened when it came to Obi-Wan in the prequels. Now, this is wonderful because if you've been living under a rock and didn't know what happened, you can find out real quick the history. And the best part is you don't have to deal with Jar Jar Binks. That is wonderful as well. Now we begin on a very somber note as the evil empire has enacted Order 66, where they have basically said, we're gonna go crush all the Jedi enemies, have them driven before us, and hear the lamentation of all the Padawan. It is really, really sad as they go and exterminate all the Jedis, or attempt to exterminate all the Jedis, including the little ones. Now in the very next scene, we go to Tatooine, where the Inquisition is coming to Tatooine. They are hunting down the Jedis, and we get to meet this Inquisitor, Grand Inquisitor, as well as two extra Inquisitors. One of them is named Reva. And we go into a cantina scene, and I have a bit of a problem with this scene. So what's gonna happen here is they try and draw out the Jedi by endangering with that cantina owner here. In fact, Reva, she throws a knife at him, and the Jedi cannot help himself and stops the dagger and basically makes it so that they can find out who he is and where he is. Now, as the Jedi attempts to get away, Reva basically is about to kill him with a lightsaber, but the Grand Inquisitor stops her. And so there's two things I do not fully understand here. Number one, if they are hunting the Jedi and they're trying to kill the Jedi, then why let him go? They don't even chase him. But number two, it's the sign of insubordination by Reva. She clearly goes against this Grand Inquisitor. And I would think in this kind of society of the Sith and the Sith Lords and Inquisitors, there would be much punishment, I would think, if she kind of went against the wishes of the Inquisitor, especially when it has been said in this episode that she has done this numerous times now. Now, as the Jedi is basically allowed to kind of run away, we then go and we cut over to where Obi-Wan is. And Obi-Wan is surviving in a much different way. So this Jedi here basically gave into his feelings and emotions and had to save this person. So it gave him up. Yet here we're going to see Obi-Wan do quite the opposite. And in this scene, he's going to see this individual get bullied, but he does not stand up for him because he realizes he can't risk being found out. Because at this point in the story, Luke and Leia are hiding. He has to kind of watch out for Luke. And so if he does anything to get himself killed, that is not worth the greater good that he's trying to do. So that's very much in character. At this point in the story, we also see how Obi-Wan is already living kind of in isolation, very, very humble in hiding. He does not want to draw attention to himself. We also see how he interacts with the Jawas, something that we're going to see in A New Hope, for example, the interaction, how he knows them. But here, at this point, there's this kind of comical interaction that I thought was very good, where he's buying these items that are clearly stolen by the Jawas. And it's also very funny how it's insinuated that he steals things from Obi-Wan and he's basically having to buy it back. I thought that was pretty good. Also, what's kind of interesting here, you see that he buys this part of like a little model plane that he's going to later be giving to Luke Skywalker. And you're going to see the reaction of Uncle Ben later on in this episode to when he gives him this toy. This scene also goes later and goes into his existence where he is filled with nightmares. Nightmares of everything that happened, how he failed Anakin, how he failed to kind of protect him and save him to be the chosen one. And that is the heavy burden that he carries. And we also see how he is always kind of looking over Ben and Luke Skywalker being quite young at this point, kind of keeping an eye out there, make sure they are okay. This watchful eye that he has as Luke grows up. At the end of the scene, you see here how he drops off that toy for Luke kind of secretly at night. And it's very easy to kind of miss that detail, but it is kind of an important way that it's going to show the relationship he has with Ben, Uncle Ben. And then after this, when he is returning at night back to his home, we see another very important scene where we see the difference between how he acts versus how the other Jedi, the more reckless Jedi, acts. So the reckless Jedi from the town scene finds him, and Obi-Wan doesn't even want to admit that he is Obi-Wan. And this Jedi says, we have to protect these people. And the best advice that he can give to this reckless Jedi is, no, just go hide. Hide your lightsaber. Hide from the people, because they're going to hunt you down. It's not worth the risk. And of course, as we're going to see, this Jedi does not listen. Now, after this, we transition to Alderaan, and the whole tone of the episode changes. It's kind of a nice change, a little bit more lighthearted. We meet Leia. She's a little, a mischief maker, getting in trouble, always running away, having a lot of fun. And after she makes kind of a trick against her adoptive mother, you actually see where she is instead of being where she's supposed to be getting ready for this kind of royal procession of sorts. She's instead out there running in the woods, having kind of fun. And of course, we meet a new kind of cute little droid. I'm sure my 4-year-old daughter is going to see this and love it. It's going to be a toy, I almost guarantee it. And this scene, especially when her mother finds her, it kind of shows this contrast of what is expected from her, how she's supposed to be this daughter of the senators versus this kind of wild, rebellious, stubborn spirit that she is. So it's a real nice introduction to the character. And then we go back to the life of Obi-Wan. He's back in town, and Uncle Owen, and I may have called him Uncle Ben earlier, there's an error if I did, but Uncle Owen basically confronts Ben. He's not very happy that he dropped off the toy, the little starship, for him, and you see that kind of tension. Owen kind of blames Obi-Wan for the failure of Anakin and doesn't want to see that same interaction. So there's that tension where Obi-Wan feels like he needs to protect Luke, but Owen is very hesitant to have him being involved. And this leads us to a very pivotal moment in the episode. The Inquisitors come back, and it's kind of very coincidental that they come in and they happen to isolate Owen. Like, Rita seems to have these magical powers. She kind of senses like Owen knows something about the Jedis and is about to make an example of Owen if they do not give up the Jedis. Now, it is very important here that Owen could have given up Obi-Wan, but he didn't. So even though he's angry with Obi-Wan, it is very important to him still. He respects Obi-Wan in one way or another and knows that he could be important in the future in protecting Luke. And yet again, Riva goes and almost kills Owen kind of against the will of the Grand Inquisitor. So this is the second time in this episode you see her kind of going against his wishes. So this is kind of a frustrating part for me. I do not think that a lower Inquisitor like this would be able to kind of act out so freely. And we're going to see where this leads in the next episode as well. But I feel like this is a little forcing this Riva character to somehow be more powerful than she really should be, get away with more. But what are your thoughts? Do you think in this episode, Riva realistically kind of is able to act and go against the wills of the Inquisitor, the Grand Inquisitor, or does it feel forced to you like it does for me? Now, after this, we go back to Alderaan, and now you can kind of see Leia. She's all dressed up for the Senate look. She has an interesting interaction with some of the other senators and one of the sons. But what is key to this part of the story is just the building of her rebellious character, re-emphasizing how she kind of breaks away as soon as she can and kind of strips off her kind of royal decree little outfit and goes out to the woods to kind of be that, again, mischievous child. Now, this is where I have kind of the second problem in this episode. She basically gets jumped by these hooligans that are there to kidnap her. And then what is next is kind of hilarious to me. It is kind of the greatest slow motion capture of a character ever. You know, I don't know how old this little actress is, but she's like 8-9 years old. She's tiny, got these tiny little legs, and she's running, and these adult kind of capturers, it looks like they are running in slow motion, because clearly they could catch her no problem, but they look like they got, I don't know, like a crap in their pants or something when they're running in slow motion, and they cannot catch her just for the effect. So I thought that was a little corny, but after that they do catch her, and it kind of shows kind of the price of her being so rebellious. It puts her in danger. Now after this, Luke and Leia's adoptive parents, they reach out to Obi-Wan. And kind of interestingly here, this is again that self-preservation that Obi-Wan has, because he's so focused on Luke. He initially does not want to go and save Leia. He's too worried that this is going to get him exposed, where he could potentially get captured or killed, and his main focus of protecting Luke would be compromised. So that's very interesting. You know, you are so used to these Jedi being altruistic and always wanting to save people, but now 2 different times Obi-Wan is kind of going very much out of character for a Jedi and being kind of selfish and focus on his sole need to protect Luke. Now as we kind of visually see Obi-Wan kind of fighting against kind of his best thoughts of whether he needs to save Leia or not, he goes back to town, and we have this very powerful scene where we see that the other Jedi, the reckless Jedi, he's hung up in town. Now, upon initial review, I thought, oh, the Inquisitors caught him. But now, if you really pay attention here, what I believe is happening is that these villagers, these people from this town, they caught him, and they didn't want to be sacrificed. They didn't want their arms cut off. They didn't want to get killed. So instead they sacrificed him, hung him up, just to say, hey, Inquisitors, get out of here. He's dead. Leave us alone. They didn't want anybody to step up and say, hey, I know him, because they knew they would probably get killed. So this was a very kind of powerful message, kind of showing how we as human beings can be very selfish when we try and survive. So again, a very, very good scene in this episode. Now, once Obi-Wan gets back to his cave, this is where Leia's adoptive father, he went all the way out here to Tatooine to convince him so that he go saving Leia. And even with that interaction, he's still not 100% committed to it. He's not sure. He's got this internal struggle. And right after this, we cut back to Leia. Her little droid tries to save her, set her free, but really sadly, the bandits, and I believe is this Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers? I'm not sure. Kind of looks like him. I didn't check the credits, but it definitely looks like him. He goes and takes this cute little toy and basically crashes it like a little bug. So kind of a sad moment for the toy here, and just kind of showing this kind of seriousness of the situation that Leia's gotten herself into. But then we have a pivotal scene with Obi-Wan. You see him going out to the desert, and he looks like he's digging something up. Now, if you paid attention earlier in the episode, he had mentioned to the other rebellious Jedi that he should go take his lightsaber and then quite literally dig and hide it somewhere in the desert. So I believe right here, this is where Obi-Wan goes, where he had dug and hid his lightsaber. And this is where, in his mind, he decided, you know, I am going to go save Leia, so I better go dig up my lightsaber. And then right after this, we go back to the bandits who kidnapped Leia, and we see where all this came from. Riva has secretly been planning behind the Grand Inquisitor's back, and she paid these individuals to kidnap Leia. Now, how do we know that Leia is important? How does she know Leia is important? We do not know. But clearly she believes that kidnapping Leia will get Obi-Wan to come out of hiding. And then in the final scene, we finally go and see Obi-Wan back in town. He goes to this kind of space shuttle, and the lady there is like, come on, what are you doing? Get to the shuttle. Let's go. Do it now. And in this little final perfect piece, the end, the perfect piece to the first episode, you see him get on the shuttle, and clearly he's fully committed to going to save Leia. but that will have to be for episode 2 and potentially beyond. Let me know, what did you think? Did you enjoy this episode? I thought it was wonderful. I thought it was really well done. I thought it was a couple corny parts, but other than that, I really enjoyed this first video, this first episode, and I hope to hear your comments about it below. Let me know. Thank you for watching this video. Now, all non-ghoulie men, hit the like and subscribe button. And if you want to be fantastic like me, make sure to hit that notification bell. Also, leave a comment of what you would like for me to say in my fantastic Arnold voice, and I may feature it in the next video. Now, check out the recommended videos. Do it now!